There's something that happens to many women after 60. They begin saying things they never would have said before. They stop apologizing for every boundary. They stop explaining every decision. They stop pretending that something does not hurt when it does. And sometimes the people around them do not like it. They may say, "You've changed. You're too sensitive. You were never like this before. You never used to talk like this. Why are you bringing that up now?" But perhaps you are not becoming difficult. Perhaps you are finally becoming honest. And perhaps the voice coming out of you now is not a new voice at all. Maybe it's the voice you had before fear taught you to keep silent. Today we're going to talk about why so many women begin to find their voice after 60 and why it's not an accident. And we're going to talk about three things. First, why your voice may have disappeared in the first place. Second, why it often begins returning later in life. And third, how to use that voice without becoming consumed with anger or guilt or the need to prove yourself. And stay with me until the end because I want to give you one sentence you can begin using when you feel yourself slipping back into silence. It's a simple sentence, but it may help you reclaim more than your life than you realize. Welcome to Awake to Joy. This is a place for women over 60 who are grieving the life they should have had, healing from trauma, and learning that it's not too late to become who they were always meant to be. Now, many women look back over their lives and wonder, why did I put up with that? Why didn't I tell someone? Why did I keep saying yes when everything inside of me was screaming no? These questions can become another form of self-punishment. We judge the younger women we used to be because she didn't have that voice, the strength, the language, the support, or the choices we have now. But silence is not always weakness. Sometimes silence is survival. And when you were younger, speaking honestly may have cost you something. It may have cost you affection, approval, financial security, a relationship, a place to live, peace in the home, belonging in your family, safety in your marriage, acceptance in your church or community. You may have learned that telling the truth made people angry. You may have learned that expressing pain led to punishment. You may have learned that saying no made you look selfish. You may have learned that good women endured. Good wives, they stayed quiet. Good mothers, they kept the peace. Good daughters did not embarrass the family. And good Christian women forgave quickly, smiled sweetly, and did not make anyone uncomfortable. And so you adapted. You became agreeable, helpful, easy to live with, low maintenance. You learned to read the room before you read your own heart. You became an expert of sensing what everyone else was needing, but you may have lost touch with what you needed. You may have spent years making sure everyone else had a voice while yours became quieter and quieter. That was not because there was nothing inside you. It was because there may have not been enough safety around for you for what was inside to come out. Trauma also affects what you believe you're allowed to say. You may be allowed to say, "I'm fine. I'm okay. I understand. Don't worry about me." But you may not feel allowed to say, "That hurt me. I do not agree. I'm not comfortable with this. I need time to think. No, I remember what happened. I will not accept being treated this way anymore." Trauma can't teach a woman to disconnect from her own knowing. She may feel something is wrong, but immediately question herself. She may feel disrespected, but tell herself she's just maybe overreacting. She may sense manipulation happening, but wonder whether she's being unfair. She may know the truth, but wait for someone else to confirm it because she doesn't trust herself. And after decades of this, silence can begin to feel like a part of your own personality. And you may say, I've just never been very assertive. I don't like conflict. I've always been the quiet one. But what if some of that quietness was not your own personality? What if it was protection? What if she was waiting until it was safe enough to speak? There are several reasons why the voice doesn't return until after 60. One of them is very simple. You begin to realize that time is precious. At 20, you may believe there was always time to deal with it later. At 30, you're trying to build a life. At 40, you may be caring for children, work, marriage, aging parents, bills, lots of responsibilities. And at 50, you may begin questioning things. But after 60, something can become very clear. You do not want to spend the rest of your life abandoning yourself. You begin to understand that peace built on self-betrayal is not really peace. You begin to understand that keeping everyone else comfortable may require you to stay uncomfortable. You begin to understand that being needed is not the same as being loved. And you begin to understand that being tolerated is not the same as being valued. And you begin to ask the questions. Not how do I keep everybody happy, but how do I live truthfully with the time I have left? And that question changes everything. You may no longer have the energy to pretend. You may no longer be willing to participate in relationships that require you to disappear. You may no longer be interested in defending your pain to the people who are committed to misunderstanding it. You may begin saying what you mean and meaning what you say. This is not bitterness and it's not rebellion. It may be wisdom. You have more evidence now. And another reason many women find their voice after 60 is that they've lived long enough to recognize patterns. When you were young, you may believe every apology. You may believe every promise. You may think maybe this time will be different. Maybe I just misunderstood. Maybe I need to try harder. But years have a way of revealing patterns. And you have seen what happens when someone repeatedly says one thing and does another. You have seen what happens when you ignore your intuition. You've seen what happens when you keep forgiving without requiring change. And you've seen what happens when you sacrifice your well-being to rescue people who do not want to take responsibility for themselves. You are not speaking because you suddenly became cruel. You're speaking because you finally have had enough evidence to trust what you see. And you may now recognize emotional manipulation more quickly. You may notice when someone is trying to use guilt to control you. And you may understand that another person's disappointment does not automatically mean you've done something wrong. That is powerful realization. Some of us were taught that if anyone was upset with us, we'd failed somehow. So we rushed in and fixed it. We explained, we apologized, we backed down, we changed our answer. But you know what? Maturity has taught us that people are allowed to be disappointed. They're allowed to disagree, and they are allowed to misunderstand. And you are still allowed to tell the truth. Your changing roles can create room for your voice. For many women, life after 60 brings changes and responsibilities. Children may be grown, a career may be slowing down or ending, a marriage may have changed, ended, or entered a new season. Parents you once cared for may be gone, and the roles that once consumed your identity may no longer take up the same amount of space. And that can feel frightening, but it also can create room. For years, you may have been someone's daughter, wife, mother, employee, caregiver, helper, or problem solver. You may have known what everyone expected from you, but when those roles change, you may hear a question rising from somewhere deep inside. Well, what do I think? What do I want? What do I believe? What matters to me now? What have I never allowed myself to say? Now, these questions are not selfish. They are human, and they may be part of your healing. Because finding your voice does not mean saying everything. Finding your voice does not mean you must confront every single person. It does not mean you must explain your trauma to people who are not safe. It does not mean you need to tell your entire story to the public. And it doesn't mean every thought must be spoken. A healed voice is not simply loud. A healed voice is clear. Sometimes finding your voice means saying something. Sometimes it means refusing to keep arguing. Sometimes your voice sounds like, no, that doesn't work for me. Sometimes it sounds like, I need time before I answer. Sometimes it sounds like, I remember that differently. Sometimes it sounds like, I will not discuss this while I'm being spoken to that way. And sometimes it sounds like, I forgive you, but that does not mean I trust you. Sometimes it sounds like, I love you, but you cannot keep doing this. And sometimes your voice is a decision to quietly walk away. Silence chosen freely is very different from silence forced by fear. You do not have to become loud to become free. You simply have to stop abandoning what you know is true. When you first begin using your voice, it may not feel empowering. It may feel terrible. You may tremble. You may lose sleep. You may replay conversations for hours. And you may wonder, was I too harsh? Should I apologize? Did I hurt their feelings? Am I becoming selfish? This is especially common when you've spent a lifetime being praised for having no needs. The first boundary may feel like cruelty. The first honest answer may feel like disobedience. And the first no may feel dangerous. But discomfort does not always mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes discomfort means you're doing something new. And your nervous system may be reacting to an old threat, even when the present moment is different. Your body may remember what honesty once cost you. So be patient with yourself. Confidence doesn't always come before you speak. And sometimes you speak with a shaky voice. And confidence, well, it comes later. Sometimes courage sounds like a whisper. This may be difficult to hear, but not everyone will be happy when you find your voice. Some people benefited from your silence. Some people were comfortable when you doubted yourself. Some people preferred the version of you who never questioned them. When you change, the relationship must change, and not everyone will agree with that. They may call you angry, difficult, unforgiving, dramatic, selfish. But before accepting those labels, ask yourself, am I truly being unkind? Or am I simply no longer being controlled? There is a difference. You can be firm without being cruel. You can be honest without trying to wound. You can set a boundary without hating the person on the other side of it. You can speak truth and still ask God to guard your heart. The goal is not revenge. The goal is freedom. The goal is not to make someone else feel what you felt. The goal is to stop denying what you felt. Some women are afraid that finding their voice means losing their gentleness of their faith. Some women are afraid that finding their voice means they may lose their gentleness or their faith. But honesty and faith are not enemies. Scripture's filled with people crying out to God, asking questions, grieving, protesting injustice, confessing pain and telling the truth. God already knows what happened. He knows what you've endured. He knows you were too afraid to say. He knows the words that have become trapped inside of you. There's a woman in Scripture who makes me think about this. In John 4, the woman at the well came to draw water alone. Many believe she came at that hour because she carried shame and wanted to avoid the eyes and the whispers of the other people. But after she encountered Jesus, something changed. She went back to the town and said, "Come, see a man who told me everything I did." The woman may have been avoiding people, became the woman inviting people. The woman carrying shame became the woman sharing truth. Jesus did not erase her story, but he met her in it. And when she realized she was fully known and still loved, she found her voice. And that's what Jesus does. He does not heal us so we can pretend nothing happened. He heals us so what happened no longer owns us. Your voice does not have to come from anger. It can come from freedom. It can come from knowing, as Psalms 34:5 says, that those who look to him are radiant and their faces are never covered with shame. You may have been silenced by fear, shame, and abuse, or rejection, but God is not asking you to return to that silence. No. Ephesians 4:15 tells us to speak truth in love. That means truth and love belong together. You do not have to choose between being a godly woman and being an honest woman. You can be both, and healing may involve bringing those words into the light, not so that pain becomes your entire identity, but so that secrecy no longer controls you. Your voice can be surrendered to God without being erased. You can ask him, teach me when to speak. Teach me when to be silent. Teach me how to tell the truth without being consumed by anger. Teach me to stop calling fear peace. God can restore more than circumstances. He can restore your ability to trust the voice he placed inside of you. Now, let me give you 3 simple ways to practice. The first is to pause before automatically saying yes. You do not have to answer immediately. You can say, let me think about that. I need to check my schedule. I'll get back with you. That small pause creates space between what somebody wants and what you actually believe is right for you. And the second is to name truth privately before you speak it publicly. Write it in a journal. Say it in your prayers. Speak it aloud when you're alone. Tell one safe person. And sometimes the first step is simply allowing yourself to form the sentence that hurt me. I was not treated well. I did not deserve that. I am angry. I'm grieving. I want something different now. And the third is to practice one clear boundary without a long explanation. Many of us over-explain because we are so trying to make the other person agree with our boundary, but your boundary does not require unanimous approval. You can say, I'm not able to do that, and stop. You can say, I'm not discussing that today, and stop. You can say, that decision has already been made, and stop. You do not have to present a courtroom case every time to protect your peace. And then the one sentence I promised you at the beginning of this video, I promised you one sentence to use when you feel yourself slipping back into silence. Here it is. I am allowed to take my own experience seriously. Let me say that again. I'm allowed to take my own experience seriously. You don't need someone else to agree that it hurt before you acknowledge that it hurt. You do not need someone else to call it wrong before you recognize it was wrong. You do not need permission to notice what your own life has taught you. This does not mean you've never made a mistake. It does not mean your perspective is the only perspective. It means your experience matters too. Your voice matters too. Your life matters too. Perhaps you've noticed yourself changing and you're less willing to tolerate certain behaviors. You're asking harder questions. You're speaking more directly. You are protecting your time. You're choosing peace over performance, and maybe part of you is afraid and you wonder, who am I becoming? Perhaps you are not becoming someone else. Perhaps you're uncovering the woman who was buried beneath survival. Perhaps the voice you are finding after 60 is the voice of the woman you were always meant to be. Not bitter, not hard, not selfish, honest, wise, awake, and ready to live the years ahead without continually asking for permission to exist. Your voice did not arrive too late. It arrived when you were finally ready to hear it. And this brings us to the even deeper question. If trauma shaped your choices, your relationships, your reactions, and even the way you saw yourself for so many years, then who are you without it? And that's what we're going to explore in the next video. Who are you without the trauma? Because healing is not only about understanding what happened to you, it's also about discovering who you are when what happened is no longer allowed to define you. If this message spoke to you today, please share this with another woman who may be wondering why she is changing after 60. She may need to hear that she's not becoming difficult. She may finally becoming honest. Until next time, remember, you survived what tried to silence you. And now, one truthful word at a time, you're awakening to joy. Remember, because he lives, it does change everything.